Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Make sure you check out our website, HollywoodMatrimony.com, and also go find us on the Instagram and
And welcome to our sad studio.
As you can see, our shelves are empty.
This is probably the final show in this studio.
Yes, we'll be moving to the new studios of the new Blakey Manor next week. It'll be very exciting.
It'll probably be sad next week as well because nothing will be decorated yet, but it will exist in a different locale.
We'll be there. Be there. Be
so that's why we also didn't have a show last week because we started moving last week.
Yes.
And we'll be moving this entire lovely month of July
I'm so
because
tired.
We believe in taking our time and doing anything in life.
Yeah, that's the way you should do it.
We're not in a rush, so we don't just pack up. I gotta go. Like maybe I don't want to move today. I just won't move today. I'll move tomorrow.
I don't ever want to move.
Well, I mean in general.
But yeah,
stop and take our time and.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we got a couple things to catch up from last week, some stuff for this week. Oh, it's a plethora of things.
Yes, a plethora.
So what are we up first, sister?
Okay, we're gonna
Soul sister.
We're gonna just start with this and see where it takes us.
Oh God, okay.
I know. I was really excited to see this next movie because this is my favorite dinosaur, as you will see pictured here on the screen. And it's the movie I Am T-Rex. And based on the description, I thought this was going to be a cute movie, a family fighting for survival.
And it is that.
It's a cute little animated feature.
A little more aggressive than...
It is. But I did not enjoy the very computer-generated animation.
Really?
I did not.
That was one of the few things that didn't bother me. I thought the animation was really well done. I mean, it's not like
part of it
Disney level.
No, but it was so computer. Like, I'm just plugging my computer and created something. I don't think anybody drew anything. It was all.
You do realize how that's most animation is now.
I know, but somebody should have sketched something. I don't know.
They sketched storyboards and designed the characters. I don't think you understand how animation works.
Okay, look. Was this PG or something?
I'm assuming it was PG-13. I don't know because it was an Asian film.
Okay. The other thing that really bothered me,
USA and then released in the US.
The other thing that bothered me, which this is going to just be me because I think it's a kids movie, is here's what I mean. No, you know what it reminded me of? Remember in the old video games where like you'd walk into the wall and you're still doing this?
That didn't look anything like that kind of animation.
That's what it reminded me because at one point...
I don't think you were paying attention to the same movie. No. Because that's one of the things I actually was fine with this movie. I thought the animation looked outstanding.
No, because at one point he goes over to eat a dinosaur. Like one of the dinosaurs is going to eat another dinosaur and it's just doing this. But nothing. Well, there's no blood and guts.
I understand what you're saying there, but that I think was by design. I think they were purposely not showing.
But you see a body, and it's just like eating the body, and nothing ever happens, and it never goes away.
That's okay. I'll give you that part of it. It wasn't anything. You're making it sound like it's like an 8-bit ghetto film. It's not. It looks fantastic, but I agree with what you're saying. They're not showing ripping flesh and everything else, but it's also not a. It's not meant to be a violent adult film.
No, it's a kids movie. So
it's more of a mainstream animated feature for all ages
demographic.
Kind of because there are other dinosaurs that get killed in this thing and that fall off stuff. It's essentially Lion King with dinosaurs.
Yeah, I guess.
It's the story. It's not the exact story, but I mean, there's, they get separated and there's the kid growing up and there's the evil people.
I guess I was expecting something different that I didn't get. What I thought I was.
Now, I will say I didn't find the movie to be overly exciting.
Oh my gosh, it was a little.
It seemed to drag
long.
A lot.
It drug out, and there was that whole.
I enjoyed it visually for what it was, but maybe I wasn't really as affected like you were about some of that because I wasn't overly invested because it was kind of slow.
It was slow.
So I was just kind of working and watching it, so I never was zoning in.
I was all into like what's going to happen because I like T-Rex. And it's a T-Rex.
I do too.
It's a T-Rex father and son trying to get back to each other, and then there's the evil T-Rexes.
Land Before Time.
Yeah, and then there's evil T-Rexes that are making the good T-Rexes look bad.
Oh, you mean like Scar?
Yes, and so then the other animals are scared, and they're like, "Oh, you're part of that bad T-Rex family." He's like, "No, that wasn't me. That was the other family." So it becomes a whole thing.
It's an okay movie. I think younger people would probably enjoy it.
Yes.
Again, it's not overly, even though there is some pretty violent-esque fighting. Like the dinosaurs do kill each other and stuff sometimes, but it's not bloody and gory and graphic.
Not at all.
So it's like you see them bite each other on the neck, or they'll throw each other, but it's not.
But you don't get any scars.
There's no bloodiness, so I think that was by design. And this one over here is just hyper violent, which is funny because when we watch something hyper violent, you're all like, oh.
No, yeah. I'm okay with all things except for eyeballs.
I know, but like if we're watching a horror flick, like you'll laugh if it's overabundance, but if it's like somebody get the throat slit, it's like you're like, ew, or you have this weird disconnect of certain things, like the things that
I like gore.
You do, but you don't, because you also will complain about it.
Sometimes I laugh.
Well, yeah, if it's an over insane gore thing, you'll laugh. But I think that's kind of the idea. But if it's like a scary gore, you freak out. Ooh. So it's like you make no sense.
Well, and that's okay because I'm allowed to.
That's true. So anyway, I Am T-Rex is okay.
It's okay.
It's fine for what it was. It wasn't the movie I was hoping to get either.
Me either.
But it is available now on Blu-ray and DVD. And you can go to our website at
HollywoodMatrimony.com
and win one for free, so you can watch it and not pay for it.
There
or
you
you can.
I think if you have kids that like dinosaurs, they're gonna love this.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
It's not. I'm not the demographic. So.
No, you're not. I'm starting to think you're not a demographic for anything.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway, it's available now. Well, we just
sorry.
Pick and choose and whatever. Now we're just going to start clicking buttons.
That was an accident.
I guess we're talking about this movie next.
We're moving on to the next movie.
Okay,
I apologize.
We'll stay with Well Go USA's
filmography.
Speaking of which, remind me, I need to go out there this week.
Okay.
Probably maybe tomorrow. I need to go out there after class. So I'm supposed to pick up anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, for the next movie is a movie called The Tank. She didn't get a chance to watch this one either, but this is
looks really good.
This is a creature feature kind of thing, like Men in Suit thing. So basically, it's about this couple who own a pet store or something, and they're struggling making meat. But they end up, the guy finds out his mother had died, and I believe she'd been dead for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But they found out she owned some property.
Okay.
And he's like, my mom didn't own anything, and they're like, well, she owned this thing. So they basically go out to this property. It's this beautiful house, sweeping landscape, and they found this tank. It's locked shut. And so what do you think they do?
They open it because they're done.
But he tells me, he goes, it's just a water tank. Like there was nothing shady about it. It wasn't like strapped shut or something like very obvious.
Do not open.
Yeah, it wasn't that kind of obvious. It was just like, hey, there's this tank here, and they open it. And she's like, don't go in there. He goes, it's just a water tank. He looks around, it's all good. He leaves, right? Unbeknownst to him, there's a creature or said creatures that are almost like human, amphibian, monster-ish things.
Yeah.
Anyway, insanity and madness ensues, and violence ensues, and these creatures are running. It's actually kind of a cool little movie. It's not.
Is it good? I was going to ask.
It takes a little while to get anywhere, so I was struggling to stay with it because I was trying to pack. I was also trying to work.
Yeah.
And it was struggling to keep my attention. But once things start happening, it's really good. The monster creatures, they're almost like I said, they look to be people in suits, but they almost look like they're contortionist type movements. So there are a lot of like these kind of low,
love that kind
their
of
legs
stuff
are up and crawling and jumping on stuff, and they don't really have facial features. They almost look like not a gecko, like a tadpole type face with doesn't look like it's the eyes, but then it's got a big mouth with the teeth.
Like those pink things with the little
bit
things.
But instead with that almost that
yeah,
no, it doesn't look like it has any eyes, but then it has a big mouth with
well, because it's in the dark.
So it's badass. Nice. They really well handled, and they shoot them in the dark, so you see them, but they're not overly exposed to see things that start looking fake. So I enjoyed it. I haven't posted the review for it. I'll get that up here soon. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good creature feature. Like I said, you do got to stick with it a little bit until it sets it all up and happens.
I'm watching the trailer right now. Ooh.
So anyway, I'll watch it again if you want to watch it, just so I can kind of rewatch some of the stuff that I might not have caught when I was trying to work at the same time.
Okay.
But anyway, The Tank you can also win copies of from our website at
HollywoodMatrimony.com.
It's also from Well Go USA and is available now on the Blu-ray and DVD.
All right.
What else are you going to just throw up there without permission?
Okay, are you ready to go here?
If you'd like to.
Okay. Talking about this next one. This is Warhorse One.
So this is one of those movies that I don't want to say I would have passed on, but I was like, all right, here we go. Another war type movie. And it was a lower kind of independent type film. But it did have Johnny Strong in it, who most of you may or may not know who that is, but he was originally kind of big for being in the original Fast and Furious movie.
Yes.
He was part of Dom's original group. So not the guy in Cuba, not the guy that the engines that got killed. He's the other guy. He was always in the jersey and stuff. He's the only guy in there that has never showed back up.
Yeah.
Like the other guy died, but they've never brought him back for some weird reason.
Yeah. That's rude.
But I think I might have an understanding of why. Because I also got to interview him. Super cool, chilled guy. He seems like kind of one of those guys.
He's this guy that's not the others.
Yes.
Yeah.
He seems like he's one of those guys that's almost kind of a hippie-ish of the earth kind of guy.
That's cool.
But also very serious about his craft. And during the interview, he did mention, he goes, well, for the longest time, I was like a paid character actor for Universal, and so it sounded like he just was doing jobs to work.
Doing his work, right?
He did a movie called Saints and Sinners, which is like a cop action flick. He did a movie called Invincible with Marco Zerrar. Where Marco Zerrar is it was almost like a remake of Silent Rage with Chuck Norris. It's not that, but where one guy can't be killed. Marco Zerrar was the guy that can't be killed. He was the cop trying to stop him.
Nice.
Anyway, so this new movie, Warhorse One, he actually wrote and directed, or co-wrote and co-directed with another guy, somebody Kaufman. What is it?
William Kaufman.
They did it together. He also, from looking at the credits, it looks like he did some camera stuff on it, some editing. So he was all in this movie.
He was in it.
Yeah, he was very serious. So tell us what this movie is about.
Okay, so basically it's about this group of soldiers who are on a mission.
Are they wishing upon a star?
They are. They're on a mission to save this group of what I understood to be missionaries and get them out of Afghanistan. And the plane goes down. And then that's where our story really picks up, is him. He's the master chief of the group, and his code name is Warhorse One. And so that's where we get this. And so he's trying to figure out how to get out. The plane's down, trying to get to his men, but also trying to save this family, and they've disappeared. And so it's basically a really like in your face, kind of in the middle of the action war movie, set in Afghanistan and all the stuff that was happening during that time.
And it's fantastic.
It is a great movie.
So here's the interesting thing. When I spoke with him about this movie, what genre do you think you would classify this movie?
I would think it's like an action war movie type thing.
So it was interesting. I made a comment.
But it's more than that.
There's a lot of drama here.
Yes.
There's character depth. There's loss, and there's betrayal, and there's salvation, and there's a lot of action. And I kind of made. He goes, I really hate that somebody would refer to this as an action movie. Mm-hmm. He goes, I get what you're saying. Like he didn't get offended, but he goes, I think everything is so quick to be pigeonholed into a category now. Mm-hmm. And he goes, you watch. I forgot what movie he named, but he goes, you watch this movie and you don't think of this movie as this or this. He goes, that's just a damn good movie. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what this falls in the category. And I could see when he said that what he was looking at is, yes, there's plenty of action, but there's also drama. There's characters you care about. There's story. There's so much there, but it's 90% of the movie is two people.
Yes.
And I was concerned because every time you throw a kid in the mix, it can get bogged down and get annoying. Mm-hmm. And the little girl is fantastic in the movie.
She's really good.
But the story is, there's a lot there between them. I don't want to tell you what it is, but that stuff he needs as much as she needs, and they're both trying to be rescued, but not always in the way you think.
Correct. I think the first opening part of this thing got me because it's a group of missionaries, like Christian missionaries or whatever, willingly going to Afghanistan to try to talk to these people. To me, I mean, that's like, I get it, and it's crazy at the same time, and I still get it, but it's crazy. But it's because the guy was from there, and he wanted to go back and try to talk to people, and try to give them hope for a better life, or, I don't want to get into a religious thing. But it's interesting because later on in the movie, we're talking to this guy, the main character, and the little girl's like, she's like, tell me a story. And he's like, well, there was this bad guy. She's like, so once upon a time, he's like, okay, once upon a time, there was this bad guy and he was trying to kill these people. And she's like, was he Muslim? And he's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you believe or what religion you are. He's like, if you're trying to kill other people, that makes you a bad person. So that to me was a message within itself that even him as a soldier, it's not like I'm trying to kill these people because they believe this. I'm just trying to save us because they're trying to kill us.
I think there's a big discussion there too that has been brought up numerous times, like especially a few years back when there was a lot of the terrorist stuff happening, and immediately everybody started attacking Muslims.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this on the show before. Most of the time when we're dealing with this, the religion aspect of that person is not what's targeted.
Correct.
But for some reason, because that country that is dealing with that is predominantly Muslim, they just now became Muslims are bad.
Correct.
And in reality, there's not a lot of difference between Muslims and Christians. And there's radicals on both sides.
Correct.
Like I know there's differences in the ideals, the beliefs, but it's all about the love.
We have KKK.
Yeah, but
they're Christians, right?
Pretty much even voodoo, there's elements of love and support. It's the element of which version of that religion.
Correct. And that's what he's trying to explain to the little girl.
Like even Satanists are looking for hate.
No, they're doing their own thing.
They believe in something different, but they're not looking to kill everyone over.
Correct. And that's why he's like, no, he's a bad guy because he's trying to kill people.
Yeah.
And that's not good, And I like that he's explaining to this little girl at the very basic base level. And I think that's where we get confused. Like today, I want to get preachy on you, but today
here we go.
I was teaching our lesson at church.
Oh, you're teaching.
And it was about love. And I'm like, that's what we all get so confused. That for me, the whole purpose of our religion and the Bible and everything, it's about love. But everybody gets so confused. But do you believe this? Do you do this? Who cares? It's about love. But we can't even do that.
Well, and I think,
he's explaining to the girl, it's just this one thing.
I miss the days too of, of course, I really miss the days when we don't discuss politics and religion.
I know.
Because that's what kept people relaxed. Because you didn't have to fight about your different beliefs. But I think where a lot of it gets lost is, as you're saying, it starts at love.
Yeah.
And caring about other people.
Yeah.
And stuff. But the bigger picture is, if you really have some sort of faith belief or anything, whether it's Jewish, Christianity, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever, it's your own faith and your own journey. And you should be caring and loving the other people and respecting their thoughts and process, as long as you're in the world together and you're respecting each other.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like, oh, you don't believe in this. Mm-hmm. You're wrong.
You're wrong.
They don't care that you may be the best person.
It's immediately like attack.
Yeah. It's like, I remember an issue, like not a bad issue, but my dad, when he first got really into religion, I remember talking to somebody at my class one time and just asking him, do you know Jesus? And this just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Right. Which, mind you, I can't stand that. I know there's a whole thing in religion about you're supposed to go out and spread the word, but I think there's also a time and place that it's inappropriate to like attack somebody at their place of business or like that. But anyway, at the end of the conversation, I wasn't here for the conversation. I don't know what it was said beyond that. The parent came to me a little bit later and he goes, well, your dad talked to me, and I'm like, oh God. So what happened? Because my dad means well, but sometimes, and he goes, I don't think your dad knows I'm Jewish.
Aww,
the guy never said a word to him. He heard my dad out. He let it go. And I told my dad later, I was like, Dad, my dad was different at this time. He was really heavy duty, and he felt like everybody needed to be this and push it on people until he found his balance. And I think he's in a good place now where he preaches it, but he doesn't try to force it in your face. And at that time, I remember telling my dad, you can't just talk to him like that. He's Jewish. He goes, so? And that's the disconnect. Of saying, well, so what? He needs to listen because I'm right, you're wrong.
You need to
my dad didn't mean it in a mean way.
Correct.
He was just like, so I can still talk about it, but that's not what he said. Mm-hmm. And that's where we have problems. So anyway.
Yeah. But I just thought that was, to me, very poignant moment in this film is that, it's not about what you believe. It's about how you treat people.
I think my
that's
favorite
what the whole point of the
element
movie
is the last scene of the movie. Not the last scene, but the last scene of the action parts of it, where they're kind of pinned on the hill.
Yeah.
And there's just a great sequence.
Oh, it was very emotional.
It's intense. You're kind of edge of your seat. You don't know if they're going to make it, if they aren't going to make it, what's going to happen to them, if they're going to live, are they going to die, whatever. We're not going to tell you what happens to them.
But that little girl got me.
But she pulls out the knife, and so she's trying to protect them. There's nothing she can do about it. Like nothing she's going to do is going to save them.
No.
And I don't know if I'm assuming you caught it, but maybe not, because you had to watch the end of it on a smaller screen.
Yeah.
But did you see when she was trying to protect him, he's laying there injured or whatever, and he had like a single tear.
Oh, and she did.
And then she had a single tear. And at the same time, I told him, I'm like, that is the most beautiful moment.
Oh my gosh, I cried.
And that little girl says so much without any words a lot of times.
She's so pretty. Her little eyes. She's so cute.
So and it was kind of touching when I asked him where he came up with this idea, and he was talking about, he was sitting around feeding his daughter, and one day their eyes locked. It was like one of those first times that he had that. He goes, and there was that connection that changed my life. And all I could think about is, if she lost everything, who's going to protect her? And then there's all these people, these children that are suffering because of war. And there's a thing at the end that's
dedicated to all the children. I mean, because it's devastating. Movie. It's a wonderful movie. I mean, and it's a little heavy at times, but it's really good. And he's so good in this. Like, he should do more things.
He does a lot of stuff. He's just,
I know. I guess I just hadn't been on my radar.
If you don't care about all the depth of that meanings and all that, you just want a good action flick, it has that.
It's a good action movie.
It's got a lot to it. And they are currently working on a sequel.
Nice.
I don't know if it's going to be Warhorse 2 or if it's going to be Warhorse One with an underscore.
Yes.
Return to Vietnam. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, but it's available now, I think, on digital. We did a quick,
and it's coming on the line on Video Demand Digital July 4th. Just in time
the 4th of July.
Independence Day.
I know it's in theaters, probably limited release right now.
Yeah, but it'll be.
Please watch it and support, especially these kind of smaller films.
Like small independent film. You want something different? Here it is.
And there's elements that are familiar. It kind of reminded me of American Sniper and that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's that idea.
And I just love, it's kind of those, I want to say, like those Rambo moments where you're like in the trees and like.
Yeah. But you like anything. So we'll walk around the house, like if we're going somewhere, she'll be like she loves
in the middle of this grocery store. And I'm like,
she loves stupid hand signals, and she doesn't know what half of them means.
No, but you follow.
But if anybody does in a movie, she'll be like,
I was like.
Yeah, and now, like, when she mentions the grocery store, we're not kidding. If I'm pushing the basket behind her and she's walking, decides she wants to turn, she'll go. And he gets upset because I'll go the other way.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, check out Warhorse One in theaters now, and they coming on 4th of July to digital on demand.
Ooh. Okay, now tell me about this. I did not get to watch this.
This is one that I was kind of excited to watch. So it's a movie called OneRanger. It's about a Texas Ranger. It's Thomas Jane, for most of y'all know as the Punisher, the first Punisher. Not the first, I was Dolph Lundgren. But the first Punisher.
He's looking rugged.
Yeah, he's rugged. It's got John Malkovich. And I'm convinced that John Malkovich did not shoot a single scene with anybody else in this movie.
You think
it doesn't look bad by any means, but every shot is kind of John Malkovich. And so I feel like maybe they shot all his stuff. Maybe they had him over a limited time.
Maybe so.
And then went back and cut everything else. It doesn't look like, in a weird way, like, that person was never in the same room. It was just, I just started noticing those camera angles. And I'm like, I'm never seeing them two in the same scene having a conversation. It was always like, camera on you, camera on me, camera on you, camera on me. And I mean, he could have been, I don't know. Anyway, but the movie's directed by Jesse V. Johnson, who I'm a huge fan of. And for those of you that don't know his work, he does a lot of action flicks, especially a hefty amount with Scott Adkins. He did Savage Dog, Avengement, Triple Threat, Accident Man. Triple Threat is one everybody, if you like action flicks to watch, it's Michael Jai White, Scott Adkins, Tony Jaa, Iko Uwais, everybody in their grandma. Tiger Chin.
Love Tiger Chin.
Yeah, so all of them are in there.
I'm going to go find Tiger Chin.
Anyway, the movie is basically about a Texas Ranger who's tracking a bank robber and ends up finding out that it's like a international terrorist that's going to detonate some bomb in London. So he ends up teaming up with this chick, this British intelligence officer, and ends up going over across the pond to try to stop her. terrorist thing.
Gotcha.
But he's also, he's not in his country, so he's not supposed to be running around shooting people. So, but and when I tell you he is Texan in this movie, he is full on Southern Texan. He's like, howdy, ma'am. Very Texan. It is like, this is almost a Western Texan level.
Wow.
And so I felt at first, I did love the movie. It's a great action flick. It's a good story. I think Thomas Jane is just fantastic in the movie. He's fun to watch. I liked him anyway, but he's fun to watch in this movie.
In real life.
But he full on embraces the Southern
he just goes
aspect of and at first I felt like he was leaning a little bit too much into borderline country bumpkin.
Yeah.
But then it started just working because he's always in his boots. Even when he puts on his sport coat, it's one of those with the leather and the patches. And he's got his bolo tie or whatever. It's like,
yeah, they're from here, guys. Sorry,
but
we're not those kind of Texans.
But what's funny too is like one of the opening sequence, the movie reminded me very much of not Walker, but Lone Wolf McQuade, which is my favorite Chuck Norris movie. If you add a Texas Ranger to anything, I'm there. I wanted to be a Texas Ranger when I was growing up.
Did you?
I didn't know how to do that. I didn't realize you just went into regular law enforcement and then apply to become a Ranger. But if you don't know about the Texas Rangers, the Lone Ranger was also a Texas Ranger.
Yes, he was.
But the part of the motto of the Texas Ranger is such. I don't remember all the thing, and then at the end of it's one Ranger. So they if you send in a group of police officers, you only got to send in one Texas Ranger.
One Ranger.
Yeah, so it's like if there's a riot happening, you only need to send in one Texas Ranger to fix it. Whereas anybody else would send in 13 people. They're like special forces of police or whatever.
And
if I'm not mistaken, the Texas Rangers are one of the few people that have jurisdiction like everywhere in the United States.
I think
I don't know if it's still that way or close enough.
I'll find out.
Is it on there?
I'll find out.
It was something like that at one point. But anyway. But it's a great movie. It's an action flick. It's a little bit funny. He's one of those. It's not a karate kind of crazy thing, but there's an.
Oh, it's just statewide.
It's just state now because at one point they had a bigger jurisdiction that could do. But there's this guy that's got to be an MMA fighter or something in the movie that's like a bad guy. They fight numerous times, and he'll get his ass whooped, throwing all over the place, and then end up fighting back. It's just an old school great action flick.
It says there's only 94 Texas Rangers. There's not that many.
There's not many left anymore.
It is a special.
Yeah, it's a special
deal.
Group.
Wow.
Well, a lot of them got murdered when the Lone Ranger was the only one to survive the ambush.
And they're in charge of investigating other corrupt police departments in the state. Oh, dang.
Texas Rangers don't jack around, man.
They have more jurisdiction than most police departments. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway. But
why don't you go be a Texas Ranger?
I'm too old now. I'm too old to be doing that kind of stuff now. Anyway, it's a good action flick. It's fun. It's old school. It's grimy.
It looks fun.
One of my favorite things at the beginning of it is it opens with he's in the desert and he's tracking these bank robbers or whatever. But it starts off with him tracking down this Indian guy that's sleeping in the desert that I guess was on bail or something, on parole, or I don't remember why he got in trouble, but he had a gun, but it was like an old school like sniper 30-06 type rifle, like an old with the big long scope, like the old classic scopes. And he's like, come on, Ranger. He's like, sit down, we ain't friends. But they already know each other. Yeah. It reminded me of Longmire. When he would talk to those people, but he would arrest them.
He's like, Lord have mercy.
And so he's like,
I love Longmire.
When the bank robber thing starts to happen and they're running, he's like, stay here. And he goes, I got to go do something. He goes, and if you try to run away, I'm going to shoot you in the back. And he's like, so it's that kind of stuff. But then you get the fish out of water in London, and he keeps getting questions like, why are you running around shooting people in this and leaving them bodies trails? And
oh my gosh, I've got to watch this.
So it's a fun flick. I really had a good time.
I'm excited.
So OneRanger is available now on Blu-ray, and I'm hoping that maybe Jesse V. Johnson will make a sequel and do some more, because I'd love to see Thomas Jane in this character again.
Okay, good. All right, moving on.
Comedy
time.
She was on Hot Ones.
Which I gotta go watch it. I saw a preview. It comes up on my thing. Okay, so now we're talking about the new movie with Jennifer Lawrence, No Hard Feelings. It is a fun comedy time that you need to be watching. That's all I got to say about that.
I will say, well, first tell us what the movie's about.
Okay, so the movie is about this young man here who's about to go off to Princeton. And his parents are concerned that he's never really had a good time or had a girlfriend or any of that. and they want him to be able to go to college and live a good college life experience, right?
So not be a weirdo is basically the way they're putting it.
So they put out an ad for a girl like to come date their son, and they'd give him a car, and
they really want them to date him.
That's why in the preview she's like, "Do you want me to date him? Or do you want me to date him?"
Yeah. He's like, "Date him hard."
So I mean, obviously, craziness ensues. You see it in the trailer. This movie is like way out there. Okay, first of all,
can I say I will say that it is taking us back to the raunchy comedy.
Love.
But it was not as raunchy as I expected.
Exactly.
It was fine. It wasn't disappointing, but I did think they were going to lean into it a little deeper than they did.
Yes.
But it still brought some of that to the table.
But then it gave us other stuff that I was not expecting. And I was like, oh,
the story itself is a little by the numbers at times.
Yeah.
But it was the exact movie I thought we were going to get outside of the raunch level.
Yes. I thought it would be more.
And you get a full frontal fight scene with Jennifer Lawrence naked.
Well, I mean, is that a spoiler?
No, she's been all over press, people talking about it, and she's like, I don't care, whatever.
I mean, we've seen her boobies before in
Mother, which she's been talking about that a lot too.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that, in one of the interviews I just read, not leaving this movie, about talking about Mother. So apparently she dated Darren Aronofsky at the time. And so she goes, the only reason she understands that movie is because she was sleeping with the director to explain it to her, not to do that, but he was able to explain the movie to her at the time. And they're like, so how do you explain this movie? She goes, I guess you got to sleep with the director. Tell me you're going to understand that movie.
I understood it.
I know, but it was kind of, you know how she is.
I know, she's funny. Anyways, I thought it was hilarious.
It is really
funny. Really funny. Some of the funny stuff you see in the trailer, which I hate when they do too much of that. But there's some other stuff that's unexpected that you do get to see, and so it doesn't blow the whole thing.
I was so glad, because I know she's kind of taken a step back from Hollywood a little bit, because for a while she was in everything,
right?
And then she became kind of the Oscar actress, where everything she does was like a drama or these, and they were great performances. Don't get me wrong. It's just I love seeing her in something like this that kind of let her poke fun at herself. Looked like she was having a blast shooting it. It was more lighthearted. Yes, there's some heart and there's some depth and some character stuff, but it's just a fun flick. You sit back and just have a blast.
It is fun.
Did you like Matthew Broderick's hair?
I was going to say, y'all, how old are we that Matthew Broderick is looking older?
He was older than us when he was Ferris Bueller.
But I mean, I remember Ferris Bueller, and that's what's funny to me, having Ferris Bueller in this movie for the reason of him being the crazy parent that wants his son to experience life. And I'm like, that's Ferris Bueller. He could show him. But, it's funny. I liked both of them. I got to talk about the kid here. His name's Andrew. Andrew Feldman.
He's actually good in the movie.
He's so good. He's such a cute little kid. I don't want to call him a little kid. I know he's not. He was born in 2002. So he's 20 something. The funny thing is that he was actually supposed to go to Harvard. And Jennifer Lawrence and all the directors, when they
like in real life?
In real life.
Okay.
And
that's part of the story, or Princeton or whatever.
Yeah, Princeton and the thing. And it's funny because after he came and did his audition, they're like, oh my God, he's perfect. But he's supposed to go to Harvard. And she's like, what? That's like the character.
Matthew Broderick is 60.
No.
Or 61.
In my head,
Ferris Bueller. He's born in 1962.
Ferris Bueller can't be more than 40.
Well, he's not. That would be our age.
I know. I imagine Ferris Bueller's my age because he went to high school with us and he had the big party.
Yeah, but I think when Ferris Bueller came out, I think he was in his 20s.
Oh my gosh. Tell me in a minute. Find out.
It came out in 1986. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Okay, yeah, he was a little older than us. Man. But I just think it's funny because that is a crazy comedy, and so to have him in this,
but Ferris Bueller's Day Off is still a safe comedy. It's not raunchy.
I know, no, it's not, but it's iconic. Kind of thing. Anyways, so this kid, Jennifer Lawrence called this guy Andrew, and she's like, I don't know how this works in college words. She goes, because she didn't go to college. She's like, I don't know how this works, but tell them you need to skip a semester and then come back. I need you to do this movie. And because she called him, he agreed to do the movie, and he totally deferred a semester of Harvard to come do this. I think he did like High School Musical, the show, and he's done some other things, some shows and videos and things. But
that's funny.
This is like his first big movie. And I was reading an interview with them that, he really just enjoyed getting to work with her and finding out like how do you work with a publicist and like the what's the other thing? The person that picks out all your clothes and like
Your
doing the
stylists
interviews. Yes. And he's like, and he did every single interview with her.
Yeah. And she says she got this script years ago.
Really?
And so they've been wanting to do it, but then they couldn't get it done because she was so busy with other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, then she had a kid and took a step away from Hollywood for a little while. And and Jennifer Lawrence is one of those that she's a fantastic actress, but I've always been a fan of hers because she's one of those celebrities that never remember she's famous.
Correct.
Like there's compilation videos of her being excited about other celebrities talking to her.
I saw that one where she's in.
Jack Nicholson was the best. Yeah, she's sitting at the table and he's like, "I just want to tell you you're fantastic." She goes, "Oh, thank you."
I know. I love her. She's so fun.
Or her jumping in other people's interviews and be like, "I just wanted to tell you, you're fantastic." And then there was like that string of her tripping at public events.
But I mean, I think that's what's so cool, and I like that they have like this cool friendship. And he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "I didn't realize I was going to make like
Kwan's the same way.
Lifelong."
He doesn't seem to realize he's a celebrity. He keeps his entire Instagram is nothing but him taking selfies with celebrities at award events and crap.
And I think the other thing I really like is the Spanish announcements and I've seen a couple of posters, and like the Spanish poster on her says "escandalosa," like she's like crazy, scandalous, and his is like virgin, and like that's how they build these movies, you know. And it's just funny. I love this movie. I gotta watch it again. I was so shocked during that one scene. I was just like, with the fight scene.
Oh yeah, it's the greatest fight scene ever.
I'm like, is this really happening? And then at the end, he's like, "There's something really wrong with you." You know, I think that kind of sums up where we're at in this movie.
I think the reason this movie works better than it should because the concept is ridiculous.
It is absolutely.
And there is a level of what you would classify. Maybe this is not legal.
Yes,
but there's they're not paying solicitation, so she didn't have to do anything. So it's the idea of what she's going to get out of it makes it even funnier.
It's ridiculous.
I like the direction they went with the story, that it wasn't so ridiculous to the point of like, you know, where you think a normal love story might end up going or something. There's like a real friendship situation happening, and you know, but it's got all the same stuff as like, oh, you betrayed me, you know, that you always deal with.
Yeah.
But there's so many little things there that just work. And her trying to, it's like, she's actually a very pretty woman.
She's super pretty.
She's very sexy when she wants to be sexy, but her trying to be sexy in this movie is some of the funniest stuff.
It's so awkward and funny.
Because it's her trying to force herself to be sexy, and she's so not in those moments.
Yes.
Like, it always starts out, you're like, hey, she's looking hot. Oh, there she goes. She just went down.
That's what's so funny. And I think someone just putting themselves out there to even just do that is amazing. And then the kid's so funny because he's so awkward.
Yeah,
it just works really good.
Like I said, my only beef with this movie is that it just wasn't as raunchy as I thought it was going to be, and that it was a little more by the numbers than I anticipated. But at the same time, I had a blast and thought it was hilarious.
So good. Anyway, so check it.
It's in theaters now.
It is. All right, one more, friends. One more.
Oh, my computer's going to die soon.
All right, now we're talking about this little movie called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Dun, 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 dun. It's upside down. Sir.
Wow.
We don't own the rights to that music, so I had to change it. I'm just kidding. Look, I have a Dial of Destiny poster. Did you know this?
That's nice. I saw that.
So I have now seen it twice because I went to a screening.
Well, you're special.
I'm better than everyone
I've
else.
only seen it one time.
So let's discuss.
Okay.
First, before even bringing this movie in there, what is your favorite Indiana Jones movie?
I like the Crystal Skull with the aliens. How about that? I know nobody likes it.
I like the movie. Don't get me wrong.
That's my favorite.
I think Temple of Doom is still my favorite. Last Crusade might be. I love the original. Don't get me wrong, but I think I don't know. I think I actually probably like them all equally. Like the original one's probably a perfect movie.
Yeah.
Just in its genre, whatever. But you get into that stuff, it's dated, it's cheesy.
And but it has inspired my face melting moments. Like when I'm having a bad day or things are cheap, I'm like just like face melting.
So I want to discuss, since you brought up Crystal Skull as your favorite. I enjoyed Crystal Skull.
Starting when it came out. Controversy.
No, I enjoyed it when it came out. I enjoy it now. I think there's stupid parts, like the mutt swinging through the jungle and all that kind of stuff. Like Tarzan, it's not bad. It's just stupid, and I don't think it fits with the narrative of the way those movies are done. Mm-hmm. But for everybody that complains, and I've been throwing this at people left and right lately, I'm not trying to change anybody's opinion. Everybody's like, one of my reviewer friends hates Crystal Skull, and he's a
That's
huge,
okay.
huge Indiana Jones fan. And so I know if I post anything about Crystal Skull, he will comment on it. And he did when we were watching it. He posted, he goes, "What is this? Is this one of those knockoff movies that's not a real Indiana Jones? I've never heard of this film." And he pretends it doesn't exist. But my biggest beef is people saying it's just stupid because it's aliens.
First of all,
you've already established in the entire franchise that they're supernatural. There's voodoo stuff with people's hearts getting ripped off and resealing, and people are still alive. There's people jumping out of an airplane with a raft that lands on the side of a mountain, that flies down the mountain, off a cliff into roaring rapids, and nobody's hurt. You've got people, the spirits flying around and melting faces. You've got immortal-ish type, not immortal, but these 1,000-year-old, 100-year-old people protecting a cup of the Holy Grail that will then, if you drink it, if it's not the right cup, you'll melt or burn up, or then you pour it on injury. So we've established there's bigger supernatural epic forces out there, which means anything else could exist.
Correct.
And I think while it may not have connected because of the aliens, I also think people seem to sometimes forget, even though I know it's not actual science, there's so many things I've always thought about who built the pyramids. And there's always the conspiracy theories of aliens building those pyramids. So that it fits with that narrative to perfection.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like the movie, but you can't argue that the aliens make no sense in this universe.
Well, and I think too, Ox was telling us they're not aliens, or at this time period, he's like they're interdimensional beings that are able to go through time or whatever. And hello, we're in the new movie talking about potential time travel with a dial that can take you to any specific point in time. So I think I don't know, I like it. I think too, I connect with it more because it's
well, you like aliens anyway. Conspiracy things.
I'm into aliens and conspiracy. I believe they're real. Perhaps not little green men like we assume, but I think in the vastness of the universe, I was telling you this too. If the human mind is limited to this, or
my computer,
knowledge, or our perceived knowledge, or what we think can actually exist is limited, right? We're limited beings. We're here for a time and then we go. But if our mind can conceive the idea of something else that exists, what's to say that it does not truly exist in the infiniteness and vastness of space? Something out there is alive. Whatever that is, I don't know.
My thing is, if you're going to buy into one of those movies, you got to buy into whatever they bring.
You got to go for all
even
of
if it's ridiculous.
So
you can't say it's less ridiculous or more ridiculous than the other crap.
I do believe aliens built the pyramid.
That's fine.
Not the ones in Egypt, because we know the Jewish slaves built that, but perhaps the ones like at Machu Picchu. I've been there.
You know they did that because the aliens might have made you believe the Egyptians did it.
But Machu Picchu, when you're there and you go through the door that's called the alien door, and you see some of these rocks, I know it's going to be crazy, but
this is her bragging that she's been there.
The stones like fit perfectly, and
this is just her bragging that she's been to Machu Picchu
during the time that it was built and the limited whatever tools. Like, how did it fit so much? And the stones that are used to build the pyramids way up there are like a gazillion miles that way.
Maybe the Rolling Stones built them.
Maybe
they all are old enough.
I don't know. I believe in all that. And then I think also because we're in the realm of the Mayans and the Aztecs, which are my people in background, I was more drawn to that movie. Now, here's my other point of controversy. Let me start some controversy.
I'm trying to go to the new movie, but hurry up.
I'm not. Indiana Jones, it's funny because most of the artifacts are religious-based artifacts, yet he's a scientist or archaeologist.
Yeah.
So
I don't understand your comment and argument about that.
Why do people not have a problem with that?
Because archaeologists and people that do that are always looking for artifacts. They don't have an issue that there's religion. They just want proof.
Well, the proof
science is about wanting proof. So if you find the Ark of the Covenant, here's your proof. The Ark exists. Now, I'm fine with that. If they find it's buried, the stories build from something. Because I believe that anything in faith, whether you believe it or not, in religion, they're built on something that happened.
Well, then can you believe the whole Bible is real if one thing's
I'm just saying.
One or two or three more things are proven to be real.
Well, but that doesn't necessarily mean the Bible is fully real to me either, because I think
that's what I have.
No. I think that a lot of it, because I believe a lot of the stuff in the Bible are metaphors about.
I think it's all true.
The stuff of lessons and stuff. Do I believe that Jonah swam inside a well and lived there? It
wasn't a well; it was a giant fish.
Okay, but it depends on who you ask.
The Bible specifically says
but it depends who you ask. This is why
it's true.
No. you can't say it's true. It's faith.
It's true.
It's not true. It's faith. There's a difference between fact and faith. I'm not saying I don't believe it.
But if the Ark of the Covenant is suddenly real, why can't the big fish be real?
I'm not saying it's... First of all, you're connecting a movie. If they did Indiana Jones and Jonah and the Whale, then I'd be fine with that.
Indiana Jones.
If he happened to find a big skeleton whale with a man inside still alive, then I would buy into that because I would believe in the rest of the nonsense that happens in these movies. But what I'm saying is, if you can't say everything is real in a faith-based religion because it's a faith-based religion. It's not fact, it's faith. And you believe in it, so it's fact to you. But your Bible doesn't say, well, look, this is the proof. It's not a proof. It's a book written by men about what they believe. Huh?
They were inspired by God to write it.
I was inspired by Jim Lee, too, but they can't go around and say, I'm the artist for X-Men.
I mean, you could be. No, because you're...
But I'm just saying, me inspired by his art and drawing the X-Men doesn't now make me the X-Men artist and creator of the X-Men. No,
of course not.
Because he's him, I'm me. The word of God and all that stuff, I get it. I'm not saying it's not real to my belief or your belief or whatever else. It's like talking about earlier, the religion we were arguing. It's the same idea. You have to stop saying, not you, but in general, people have to stop saying, if it's the Bible, this is the only truth, this is the facts, because none of us really know. You have faith that you believe that. I have faith that I believe stuff. But none of us know until we're dead and we stand in this room that we're either getting eaten by worms or we're at the pearly gates or 100 virgins or whatever ends up happening.
Yeah.
We don't know until we're dead.
No worms, please. But
I hope it's 100 virgin worms and golden arches.
But that's my thing. Why is that not a controversial point in the whole Indiana Jones?
Because it's not a scientific thing.
That we're after the Holy Grail or the spear that Jesus any archaeologist or Ark or whatever.
Because they're seeing those as historical artifacts, and now it's proving a story that before was a faith. Was real. Nobody argued that Jesus didn't exist, dummy. They're saying if this thing was the spear that pierced Jesus and it's the first thing that drew blood from Jesus, then that's an artifact.
Correct.
Like this is the actual spirit. We believe Jesus existed. People aren't arguing that Jesus existed.
Go back.
The argument is, did Jesus actually rise and all that stuff and become a spirit ghost that steps in the clouds and tells us what to do all the time when we talk to him?
Yes, he's up there with Obi-Wan.
Or essentially our imaginary friend that's helping our life.
Obi-Wan and Yoda.
But the artifact, if you tell any scientist or archaeologist right now, hey, we found the Holy Grail, and they're like, what? All of them are going to want to see it.
I know.
Because that's not a problem.
Well, and that's the one thing I do admire about Indiana Jones is like, this needs to be in a museum.
Yes.
You know.
So let's actually, instead of the argument we're having now, let's talk about the new film that we're supposed to be here for.
I'm fine.
So
I'm not arguing. I'm just telling you the facts.
You're not telling me any facts, woman. You're about to get knocked out of the chair.
I just wonder if we're going to fight about the aliens, why don't we fight about this?
Because your argument makes no sense. I'm sorry to tell you. I love you, but your argument makes no sense.
I just wonder because
alien mentality is thinking, okay, we've shoved science fiction into it, is the way they look at it.
I know, but I was just thinking from the opposite point, like, don't people believe Bible science fiction sometimes?
But what you're talking about, though, is in these movies, they're finding physical artifacts that happen to be part of a religious belief.
I'm just saying,
in the
if
crystal
it melts
skull,
your face, why
had they
is
not
that
brought
more unbelievable?
Had they not brought the aliens in, they could still have the crystal skull itself. That's the artifact.
Yes.
And they could have done a story around that without the actual aliens.
Well, now we know aliens are magnetic. So,
anyways, moving on to the ridiculousness of the new movie.
Okay, Dial of Destiny.
So now we're at the final film in the series. They may reboot it. There's been talks of all kinds of stuff. This may not be the end of Indiana Jones, but this is the end of Harrison Ford Indiana Jones because he's 800 years old. But I have seen this movie
more
twice.
Like 80, right?
It is 80 something, I believe. And I love this movie. I thought it was fantastic.
I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it.
It's a little slow
at times.
There
was a bit that I was like, this part's dragging a little bit. Yeah. Let's move on. But it was fine all over.
Outside of some pacing issues, I thought the movie was fantastic.
Yeah.
Again, it has an ending that's a little out there. But again, everything that has come before it, if you believe in that stuff, you should not only believe in this ending, and I thought this was the most fitting ending to the character because it fits his entire life's work
and it's
journey.
It's believable, and it's like this would probably really happen.
Well, I was reading an article without spoiling it that the original ending that was written was the same idea, but actually going back to what they were trying to go back to do. Remember, before it gets wrong?
Yes.
But then they felt like, well, now it's just rehashing what we saw at the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't feel like something new. And so going in this new direction, it felt more like, because we got a different Indiana Jones this time. He's kind of not down on his luck, but he's kind of sad. He's retired. He doesn't feel like he has anything really left in life. He doesn't have anybody that he connects with. Everything's gone. He's just Indy by himself. And they said that part of the idea for this ending was he realizes his entire life was not a waste because he's now experienced everything he's built towards. Like when you were in the trailer, I've been looking for this my whole life. It's got multiple meanings in the movie.
There's a lot happening there.
Because there's like I can't explain it, but there's like a 3-tier level of what he's been looking for his entire life. And all of them were here. I thought it was a very fitting ending.
Yeah, it was really good.
I thought it was a little silly at first, but then I sit with it. When you see that final sequence with him, you realize, oh, okay, you got to think from that perspective. Mm-hmm. Of what he's
has
witnessing and what he's going to deal with.
What he felt has been so important to him in his life work. And
I also thought it was genius how there's a foreshadowing earlier in the movie of where we go.
Yes.
It's a very small throwaway, blink and you'll miss it.
Correct.
What did you think of the film?
I really enjoyed it. I think I like him at this age doing his thing. And, there's one moment where they're on the adventure and they're like, come on. And he's like, I'm old. I've been shot 9 times. I got a bad knee. I had a hip replaced. I mean, he's just going through it like, hold on, I'll get there.
Did I tell you the story about the stuntman that he yelled at?
No.
So apparently while shooting the movie, it's really funny. As there's that whole horse sequence.
Yes.
And he's riding this horse and he says that the stuntmen are like holding him at times so he doesn't fall off the horse.
Yeah.
And he's like, would you stop touching me? He goes, they're like, we're trying to make sure you ride this way. He goes, I'm an 80-year-old person. Let me ride the horse like an 80-year-old person.
And I think that's what I liked. I mean, you can see it like he's got a little hitch sometimes in get along. And I think that's what is endearing because we've seen the character evolve from a 20-year-old, 30-year-ld something to now.
I think it was 30s.
His 30s. Yeah. But I mean, you see it. And he's always had a little weird run thing happening on the left side.
It's always interesting revisiting too. Is Harrison Ford was in great shape. But he was never the guy you look at who you think's in great shape.
Correct.
He moves like your everyman. He doesn't look like a guy that works out.
And that's what I liked.
When he's shirtless in the old movies, he's got some pecs and he's fit. Yeah. But he doesn't look like a guy that could fight. He doesn't look like a guy that you believe is an action
And you
star.
get to see him shirtless now.
Yeah, I read that he did it on purpose too because he's still in good shape.
He's still,
he got that young chippy.
Him and Callista Flockhart still
not
together.
Anymore, but I also have always loved Harrison Ford's fighting.
Yeah,
because he hits things and falls down when he hits.
Because that's what normal people would do.
Real life fighting. Yeah. I love it.
I think that's.
I was worried going into this movie. Not only that it took so long before we finally got it, would it feel like a fitting end? Because the last one didn't feel like I enjoyed the movie. It didn't feel like an ending for him.
Correct.
Would we get a real ending for Indiana Jones? Would we be able to buy into an 80-year-old Indiana Jones fighting Nazis and running around and doing stuff? And the answer is yes. I felt all of it was really well done. I like that they leaned into his age. It never felt to me like he was trying to be anything other than what he is now. Yeah. And I also like that not all of them, but the last two especially, this one more than any of them, he's kind of a fish out of water now because the world has changed so much from that first movie.
Yeah, because we're in the 60s.
Yeah, because it was during the Vietnam War and around the Vietnam War and all that kind of stuff.
The moon landings, real prominent in this.
Yeah, so he's just so irritated because nobody seems to care about the history stuff anymore.
Yeah, they're all about right now.
Yeah.
That's a famous thing from Buffy. Who's like, she's having problems with history. Well, like history's in the past, and Buffy's like, very right now. So, and that's the thing we're in. No, because that's the feeling. And he's like, what is going on? Because all these young people are out there. And I like that we're in that time period because we're seeing the protests. We're seeing the hype about the moon landing, but also the conspiracies about the moon landing. It's all at that same time period. Like that would have been cool time.
And I was really wondering, because how do you have an Indiana Jones movie and no Nazis?
Well, don't worry.
You know, and so we're in a time period there wasn't going to be Nazis, but they found a very genius way to include it in the first.
He's in the trailer, right?
I thought the opening sequence of this movie was fantastic.
Yes.
I've had other people I know talk about they thought it dragged on too long.
Oh, I thought it was
Some people
really
said
good.
they didn't think the CGI looked very good.
Huh.
I thought it looked great
on
him. Yeah.
No, I think it's good, and I think cool. I think it's so great when you have actors that have been doing it for so long. You have such great reference.
Yeah.
You can just really pick up their face and put it.
I felt like the reason the rest of this movie works is because of that opening sequence.
Yes.
The opening sequence is vintage Indiana Jones.
Yep.
And you get Nazis, you get action, you get the young Indy, the attitude, and some of the ridiculousness of it. So then when we merge into the present day elements of Indiana Jones, not our down, but his present day, you kind of are reminded, okay, we went on this journey for 4 films and a half, if you will, with Indy. Now we can continue where he's at now and get that evolution. And I love this movie. Like I said, I saw it twice. Outside of the pacing, I can see how some people may not like the ending. I liked it more the second time. The first time I didn't dislike it. I was just like, I don't know if that's really what I wanted to happen kind of thing. But when I saw it with you, I was like, I love this. This is fantastic.
It was a lot of fun. And I got to say, I love me some Mads Mikkelsen.
I know you do.
I just love it. He is just that face that is so striking and good for kind of your maybe a bad guy or you don't really know. Like, ooh, he's just one of my favorite people.
I wasn't sure what I was going to feel about what's her name? Phoebe Waller-Bridge or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But she was really good.
She was actually really good.
I think she's in some show called Fleabag or something.
Yeah. You got to love Salah. We know he's there. He's in the trailer.
Yeah, because Salah didn't come back for the last movie.
Correct.
But I read an article that said they wanted him back for the last movie. It was going to be just a small cameo. And he felt like the fans deserve more than a small cameo from Salah if he's going to be there.
Yeah, I agree.
And so even though he's not in the movie heavily, he does have some good moments and some
important times. Stuff. Yeah, I thought it was really good. So
and I was bummed Antonio Banderas didn't get more screen time, but he's still fun in the movie. But he's there,
yeah, and it was important too. It was an important character.
I thought it was a fantastic flick.
It's really good.
Really good, fitting into the movie, to a franchise that I love.
Yep.
I love all of them. For all of you that don't like the Crystal Skull, guess what? I don't care. I still like it too. I usually fast forward when start swinging through the trees, but beyond that, I like it.
Just go grab a drink and come back.
That's right.
Go to the bathroom.
Anyway, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is in theaters now. Go see it. It didn't open as massive as I think everybody were hoping it was. I think it did like 60 million or something.
What was our box office?
But at the same time, I mean, it's hard to figure out anymore because yes, there's some movies that are like Spider-Verse is still killing it.
That's what I'm gonna see. I was gonna go see what's the box office.
But it just feels like theaters just aren't like they used to be. The people aren't spending the money on everything like they used to. Back then, like every movie every weekend would have a big opening.
Well, it was number one.
Huh?
It was still number one. So
it was number one, but it wasn't what everybody hoped for a movie that's like $200 million.
Elemental's number 3. Wow.
Yeah, it's doing surprising.
Well. No Hard Feelings.
Flash basically dropped off already.
Wow.
Which sucks because it's not only is it a fantastic movie, it's just it makes me sad.
So much controversy.
That it kind of got lost in there. And then one of the things that Ezra Miller was dealing with, I think a judge just threw it out and said that one of the people that accused him of some inappropriate touching or something that was happening, they said there's no evidence to any of that ever happening, and so they tossed it out. But of course,
it's already
he's already been accused of certain. I'm not saying he's innocent by any means.
We don't know
other stuff, but it's sad that by the time that happens, like Jonathan Majors is still going through all this stuff from the Marvel stuff, so we don't know what's going to happen with him, but. Stuff keeps coming up to saying that's not what really happened and things like that. So who knows?
We don't know. Anyway,
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is in theaters now. Go watch it. You need some Indy in your life. And if you want to watch the originals and for some weird reason you don't own them, then you can watch all of them on Disney Plus, including the Young Indiana Jones Adventures or whatever the show is now called.
With
Sean Patrick
Flannery.
And the original, I don't know on the Disney Plus ones if they put it back, because at one point they used to have intros with like an old man Indy. There's some other actor played him in the show. And then I think there was a release where they cut all those out or they brought it back or something. Somebody posted things like Harrison Ford is now the age of that Indy, so they should try to see if they can get him to just cut those intros for all the show.
That's funny.
Anyways,
okay, it's over to you. Can you tell me what's coming out?
Yeah, hold on. I had to go through my phone because my computer died. So it's not a lot because it's 4th of July week. So a lot of it's going to be just re-release stuff. Mission Impossible 3 and 4 4K Steelbook editions are getting released. Upgrades getting a 4K release, as well as the Truman Show. That's kind of it. Not a lot beyond that I see here.
I want to watch Truman Show.
Huh?
It was a good movie. I remember
watch it if you want to.
All right. So coming out online or in the theater. Actually, Tuesday there are some releases. We talked about Warhorse One today. It's going to be online, on digital, on demand. If you could watch that for July 4th, it's a really good movie. I would check it out. Also, this is interesting. It's coming out in limited release online. It's called Sound of Freedom. It's based on a true story. Of an agent that rescues a boy from a child trafficking ring and then goes back to try to find his sister. And it has Jim Caviezel and Mira Sorvino. So, I'm in. I'm in all over that. Also, let's see, on video demand and digital is a movie called Bad Girl Boogie. And it's a girl whose mother has been murdered in a killing spree. And the mask would wear a creepy face. Well, the mask has resurfaced and now killings are happening again. So she's trying to find out who it is before it's too late. Coming out on Wednesday. This is interesting. On Netflix, it's a new documentary about Wham called Wham. So that'll be interesting to watch. And coming to Disney Plus.
Oh, it's not like a movie. It's
Kazizimoto, Generation Fire. It's a series. It's an anthology of short films. So that could be
fun fact. Since you said anthology, I'd like to throw a funny story out today at class today because I'm going to throw him under the bus. One of my students, I won't mention his names, but it's CJ. He was talking about, we were talking about TV and he was meaning anthology, but he was like,
anthropology.
He did. He said that, he goes, this show's like an anthropology series. It was talking about Fargo. He was like, we were talking about the show. He goes, well, that show's kind of an anthropology series. And me and a couple other people looked at it and said, it's not anthropology. They're like, yeah, it's a story about dinosaurs. And so we were cracking up. It was funny. He goes, it's the anthology. I know.
We know. Funny. It happens. All right. Coming out Friday, July 7th, Insidious, The Red Door.
Which I believe is the final chapter.
The last installment. It's set 10 years after the most recent previous movie. We've got to go watch all of this.
And it is directed by star Patrick Wilson as well.
Oh, it is?
Yes. Who's been starring in it since the first one.
Oh, my gosh. This is the Give Me Back My Baby. Give me back my baby.
Yeah.
Give me back my baby. This is the one where they're talking in the mask and
yes, with the guy that looks like Darth Maul, kind of.
Yes, and the guy
like
with
a troll Darth Maul
and the guy on there with the headphones and
which
the
is
little
Leigh
glasses.
Whannell, who is one of the co-writers of.
Gosh, guys!
Him and James Wan are the guys that created Saw. They created Saw together. They created Insidious together. He directed one of the Insidious movies. He also directed that movie Upgrade that we dig.
Oh, that's a great movie. I'm scared to watch this. We're going to start watching all of the movies this week, and I'm scared.
Yeah, we're currently in the middle of a Mission Impossible marathon that will then segue intermingling with Insidious.
Yes, so don't worry. Okay, also coming out on Friday at the theaters is a movie called Joyride. This looks really fun. Now, this is going to be a raunchy comedy.
Yeah, this one looks like it might be the ones that we're expecting.
Yes, so it says Seth Rogen. I think I saw him in the trailer. And then I'm so glad we're getting to highlight a new group of Asian female actors that I don't know. So I'm excited to see who's in this movie. So I'm going to check it out. It says Debauchery. I'm down. Okay, coming out on Netflix on Friday, a movie called The Outlaws. This looks really interesting. It has Nina Dobrecht from Vampire Diaries. But basically, it's this couple that's going to get married. The in-laws come into town, and it's like a spree of bandits start showing up in town. So she begins to suspect that her in-laws are the infamous outlaws. So it's going to be, I think, a fun time. Let's see what else is coming out. I think that's it this week. It is kind of a shorter week, but make sure you get out there at the theater, check out some stuff, watch Independence Day 1 and 2, because it's going to be playing on the line. It's always on TV, so that's my big plans for the week.
Hold on, I'm looking at something real quick.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about the contests?
Oh no, that's good. Yeah, so we have a few contests. A lot of them are ones we've had up for a while, but we have a movie called Day Zero from Logo USA. That's like a new zombie flick we'll be talking about soon. We got digital copies of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Mm-hmm.
Then we also have some copies of the movie The Tank that we discussed earlier today, or I discussed. A new Donnie Yen flick called Sakura that he also directed and stars in. It's a good little flick. Evil Dead Rise, which is currently, I believe, on HBO Max now as well, but you can win a copy.
It's now just called Max.
And, just Max. And then also we've got copies of the 4K release of the original National Lampoon's Vacation, which this movie is hilarious. It holds up really good today still, and I love the vacation flicks.
All right.
Well, that's all. We got some other stuff coming up soon, but that's all for now. And hopefully, some of our sadness of our background will be a little bit different next week.
We hope so.
But
we'll do better.
It'll still be sad because there's not going to be a lot done yet.
We'll do the best we can. But we will see you next week. Thank you so much for watching Hollywood Matrimony Live. Go find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Hive. And of course, check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com.
See you next Sunday. Bye.
Peace out.